All right, everybody, here we are live on a Saturday afternoon in beautiful West Kelowna, BC, Canada, and we got a little bit of Florida happening as well. So I'm just going to wait for everyone to get on board. We got a good uh, webinar planned for today. A lot of excitement around this one. Everyone wants to hear from Byron, so we're going to bring him on board, but I got a little other stuff to talk about before that. So as soon as you guys get the message, a little bit of a delay here, we'll get you all zoned in and we'll get you all set up, and hopefully you can all see me and hear me, and you'll want to hit your share buttons and you'll want to get involved, and we'll get your comments and your questions for Byron and JP as we go along. So nothing like before and after success stories to hear from people themselves, to realizing real people with real lives. And one of the things I hate about social media is you get only contest prep people promoting before and after pictures of people because they're getting ready for contests and living in starvation mode, and then they gain the weight right back after, but no one shows the after of the before and after. And then that gets really, really misleading as well. So very few out there who are willing to put up client pictures of progress pictures and stuff, but I've been doing it for years. So just waiting on a few more people to join us. I know it's somewhere around in some parts of the world, it's the middle of the night, and then middle of the weekend here. But I want to thank both guys for joining me today because I know it's their weekend, their precious time. So I want to thank them both for taking the time out of their schedule to join us. And everyone says we're coming through loud and clear. So I'm going to get on with it. I got a little bit of a presentation first, and then I'm going to bring in Byron and JP, and we're going to take it from there. But first thing I want to do is just discuss what I'm talking about here, and not just before and after on the outside kind of pictures. I want to also discuss what it's like from the inside out. So I'm just going to shrink my big fat head here. Hopefully you can all see me okay. And again, hit your share buttons and hit your likes or whatever, but I want to talk real people, real lives, unreal results. Of course, we're talking about Byron here, who's lost 70 pounds, and getting ripped and ready. I've also got a former client I want to talk about who ordered a one-time custom diet from me, and guess what happened? His testosterone levels went up, even though we set his animal protein portions way down. And then, of course, the well-known JP is still rocking super comp and enjoying the real world of food abundance, which is as it should be. So I want to get all that across, and then I'm going to bring the guys in, and they'll take your questions and comments, and I'll try not to take over the conversation. So recently, a former client, Jared, and I'm using his picture for social proof because otherwise people say I'm making him up, but he's a former client of mine, and he wanted to go plant-based. I know a lot of people, since I've gone vegan, it scared them off, and a lot of people are the exact opposite, very intrigued, and they want to sign up and get in there. So Jared wrote me a few months back, and he wanted to get on the plant-based diet. So he ordered a one-time custom diet. We worked from the diet he was following before, and I assigned him a plant-based vegan diet. And Jared has had problems in the past with very low testosterone levels for a young fellow his age. We took care of that medically, but lo and behold, I'm going to read you his exact email. So not only outside in cosmetic transformations, but what about inside out transformations of health? Boom, shakalaka laka, boom, boom. Here's his exact actual email, a cycle diet to revamp with a plant-based approach. So Jared wanted to stay on the cycle diet, but he wanted to switch to plant-based. So I'm reading you his actual email. Scott, I waited to respond back till I got my blood test results back from my testosterone replacement therapy doctor to see if there was any difference in the markers since going plant-based. My base testosterone went from low 700s to now the low 900s, with my free testosterone being in the optimal range without any changes in my testosterone replacement therapy protocol. All other blood markers came back great and improved as well. I've been leaning out, or am leaner than before when I was eating chicken breast for my protein meals. My weight has dropped down from a baseline of upper 150s to the lower 150s. My waist size has shrunk and clothes have gotten even more loose after this change in diet. A buddy of mine also commented that visually, I still look built and muscular, and that if I told someone I was in the low 150s, they wouldn't believe it. Another testament that the weight scale is a dumb metric to go by to determine overall health and vitality. Honestly, coach, going to this carb-based diet is the reason I feel more energetic. My testosterone numbers have increased. My skin looks healthier, and I have greater mental clarity. My sex drive is definitely better, and I'm definitely more mentally positive in my outlook on life. Due to this diet change and its benefits, it's like a switch has been turned on. I'm here, and I highlighted all that in bold because I hear that a lot from people who have followed suit in the plant-based approach. So overall, this has been the best change I think I made to my lifestyle in regards to reaping overwhelmingly positive health and wellness benefits ever. And I've tried many of them over the years. So that's the long and short of my breaking vegan diet experience after, well, it's been a few months now, going on the vegan diet. Many thanks to you, Coach, and keep carving it up. But wait, there's more. So he continues in his email. This is interesting to me, folks, and I want to point it out. I also told the testosterone replacement doctor that I was on a new plant-based diet, which is why he went in and got his blood redone, and that my energy has been great as a result, and he was happy to hear about it. But then he, the doctor, started telling Jared all about paleo nonsense and scientific evolutionary studies about how we weren't evolved to eat grains or whatever the paleolites like to regurgitate. He said, I just ignored it and internally shook my head to myself. At this point, I only really need the doctor and the clinic to get the blood work done, relay issues, if any, and to refill my meds. And what I put in red here, what's important is, so here's a guy who's gone plant-based and his blood test numbers, so inside out health and well-being, inside out cosmetic transformation, if you will, his blood test numbers improved. And instead of his doctor learning from that and saying to him, oh, plant-based diet, well, tell me more about it. Instead, the doctor lectures him on a diet that's been debunked, disproven, and has absolutely nothing to do with the improved health of his own patient. And so it goes. So, you know, a lot of the times people are actually doctors, but they're playing nutritionists. And, you know, that's too bad and that's unfortunate. So I wanted to do an inside out transformation along with these incredible outside in transformations. And without any further ado, let's get on to how to lose more than 70 pounds. Byron is now approaching about 75 pounds. We've discussed. We don't know because my clients don't do weigh-ins. And if you saw this picture the other day, I'm sure that's why most of you are here. So, you know, don't forget, hit your share buttons because we're going to be talking some pretty good stuff. And then just some more reinforcement of the transformation that Byron has gone through. You can see all that right there. I am just going to hide that so you can see that. And then a final pic, Byron looking down, doesn't believe in himself. So one of the things I did want to, and I skipped that slide totally, is I want Byron to consider answering the question, why you and why now? And we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this and talk here about the rules of biofeedback is, one, you let the process work and you work the process. And when I first posted Byron's before and after changes, first at the 3-month mark, which was 50 pounds. And then when he got up to 70 pounds, I was amazed at the number of people who have been following me for years and years who still don't get it. They still don't understand relative deprivation. When I did the post and said, he's now up to 70 pounds weight loss and we haven't cut his calories at all, people were like, well, what do you mean you didn't cut his calories? And I feel like saying, these are people who followed me 20 years. And I feel like saying, well, what do you mean by the question that you don't even understand that? Because if you keep cutting someone's calories, then they're not going to be able to sustain the diet. The diet's unsustainable. The weight loss is unsustainable. It all goes out the window. But we never had to do that because we follow the rules of biofeedback. And we never had to drop Byron's calories because all his biofeedback indicators on his check-ins were strong and in the productive and constructive range. His weight continued to fall off. As a matter of fact, I told him several times his body was shedding weight like it was dying to do it from the get-go, like saying, please get rid of this. I don't need it. I don't want it. And meanwhile, energy in the gym, good. Performance in the gym, good. Sleep patterns, good. Concentration throughout the day, good. As long as those parameters stay in line, why would we cut his calories just because some magic number of weeks has passed by? That is absolutely ridiculous, outside in, low level of understanding of metabolism thinking. But I was amazed at how many people who should know better, who have read my books, wrote me and said, well, what do you mean you didn't cut his calories? I'm like, how do you not understand this after 20 years of me preaching about it all the time? So it's weird. And we don't do macros and we don't do the rest. And we'll talk about that as well. And again, it's about sustainability. So on that front, I also want to bring in JP, a client from Florida. And you all know this famous picture of JP from back when we were doing HARDGAINER solution and his incredible transformation. So why not bring someone on board whose transformation is right now, and then someone like JP who's sustained it for years? So I asked JP to send in some current pictures, so we had a little fun there. So there he is, a little selfie in the change room. As you can see, he's maintained his transformation. Boom. And another one there, just having a little fun. It must be a refeed day. And then again, showing off the guns. Look at the pipes, look at the guns. And then another thing I would get before I bring them both in is the JP, I would call the master of super comp. He is really, really, now he's taken the cycle diet course and read the book and my program design course, etc. But this guy understands super comp to a level that very few other people do. So he will write me sometimes and he'll say, Scott, I'm not feeling deep into super comp. I could take a refeed this week, but I don't think I will because I got such and such coming up and I'd rather be deep into super comp for those few days. What do you think, kind of thing. So he doesn't look at his refeed day as a right. He looks at it as something that is gauged by his biofeedback and his metabolism. And he's really mastered it to like upper levels of people I haven't seen before. So there you go. There's Byron. There's JP. I got tons of transformations that I can use. So I'm going to get rid of the lecture and then without further ado, bring the boys in. So let me say, get one in there and then let's get some comments going. Byron, welcome.
Hey, how are you doing?
Everybody's here. Good, good, good. And now let's see. We got JP. We got sound. What's up, brother? Oh, we can't hear you. No, can't hear you, brother. Sign back in. We'll have to dump JP. We'll get him just log off and log back in again, and then we'll bring you up. So, Byron, I guess one of the things I said that I wanted you to discuss is like why you and why now? Like what that's the question I think that's on people's minds. Like how come you can do it and I can't, kind of thing.
Well, I've shared to you when I first got into just kind of really getting interested in just doing it, creating a change in my life of just going to another level in my fitness journey. And I've always been to the gym. I've always for the last 20 years. So, I was very familiar with what the gym was and you look up how to eat this and that and do all that stuff that's online and it's on the web nowadays. And, and I've tried some of those things and it just, nothing was sustainable. Nothing lasted. And I just kind of, you get to a point in life where you sometimes just got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then you really want to just jump in and do something. So I was in December, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this because I was even thinking beforehand, researching you, looking at your stuff, and December was like it. And I actually wanted to join in December. And then because I didn't want to look like a New Year's resolution guy, and B, I was just anxious to go. But I realized like December, what a horrible time to try to start a diet or so I was like, you know what, let's just, do December, start in January, start fresh. And I mentally took that time to just be ready and prepare myself to say, you know what, whatever you had for me to do, I was going to do it no matter what. Whether I liked it or not, or agreed with it or not, I didn't care because, I've tried different things. I said, well, here's a guy that I've seen the testimonies, heard the testimonies, read the material and said, you know what, this stuff works for these clients. I said, well, there's no reason why it can't work for me. Exactly. I'll just do whatever he says for me to do. Obviously it works. So I just kind of took that approach to it. So when I got on board, like it was New Year's Eve and everyone was partying and I was there taking selfies and doing my little bio write up, sending it to Scott. And I think Scott was getting my messages on New Year's Eve and everyone else, I don't even know, he might have been at a party for all I know, probably not, but that's what I was doing. I was committed. I was just so excited to go, and mentally I just was charged up and said, no, I'm going to do this. And I think to the most part, people get to that point, but it's after the first month and month and a half and 2 months. And that's where you're really tested because you still got to have to endure, the mindset of I'm doing this.
And
And so,
yeah, and I mean, there's a certain parameters, certain indicators that a coach can see a mile away that tells me when someone's going to be, either a weight loss tourist or a permanent resident, and that's why JP's sort of on the permanent resident side, right? Like I can have lots of people who are, the come to me and they've lost weight, put it back on. One of the things I do want to mention is the whole coaching thing, because yesterday I did a long back and forth with someone thinking about joining, and the whole mindset was, well, what if it doesn't work? And what kind of guarantees can you give me? And I was like, you know what? You're not ready. You got so much trepidation that you're not even going to be fair to me from the get go. You so much, oh, I've had bad experiences in the past. And I finally wrote to this person saying, look, this is like having your heart broken in a relationship and then meeting someone and saying, can you guarantee me that this relationship's going to work out? Can you guarantee me that this, with this marriage will last forever? Because my last one didn't. I mean, it's just like, no, there are too many variables involved on both sides of the equation. But when people are entering into something by dipping a toe in the water and measuring how cold it is, that's not a good starting point. So one of
well, I
the things.
think, oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, there was one time I was preaching and just when I just remembered this is that I talked about vulnerability and how
Let's just
important sometimes.
let me pause right there because
Yeah,
people don't know your background. So when Byron says one time he was preaching, he means that literally. He wasn't just spouting off
yeah,
like me. Byron was formerly a preacher. So go ahead.
yeah. So I was sharing about being vulnerable and how sometimes we as a culture, we don't like to be vulnerable. We want to actually guard ourselves almost too much at times. And we don't allow people in. We don't allow others to, because we're afraid that we're going to get hurt. And a lot of those things are past experiences and damages and hurts and pains. And we don't want those things to rise up again. So we create these walls. And the thing is in our fitness journeys, a coach, it's hard because we have to become vulnerable in order to open ourselves up to a new experience and to do something different than we've never done before. And so vulnerability at times is risky at times, but there's a great reward to it if you pick the right people in your life to be vulnerable to.
Good
And
point. Good point.
so,
And I want to get JP in here, but
yeah,
what you pointed out is, you just remind me. We see it every day in the gym right now. I mean, they see Andy, they see you 70 pounds lighter. They see this and that, and it's a different kind of wall, but it's like having blinders on. They see it and they ask questions and they change absolutely nothing.
yeah,
They still do the same crap they've always been doing and they've never changed at all, and yet they see proof right in their face, and it's not enough to affect change. So
yeah.
JP, you want to get in on that? And then I have a comment I want you to direct at Byron, but you want to weigh in there because I know you're a pretty church going guy as well.
Can you hear me first of all?
Yeah, yeah, barely.
Yeah.
Don't you just love technology sometimes? Yeah, with piggybacking on what Byron was mentioning about the vulnerability and picking kind of who to be vulnerable to. I couldn't have said it better myself because when it comes to same thing that happened to me with Byron, you have to pick and choose who you want to basically make a commitment to. In this case, someone like a health and fitness type of coaches as yourself, Scott. That's not an easy question to find. I'm sure Byron probably hit his head on the ground many times in mistakes that he made along the way before he taking the plunge in getting with you and getting coaching with you. I sure did, and for years on end. And it does get to a point where you there can be some self doubt going into it. The commitment itself, it's a legit commitment, and in this case, there's a commitment to the individual. There's a commitment to oneself. There's all types of commitments, but being willing to with that commitment comes, okay, you're putting the client themselves is putting themselves on the line to the coach or anyone else. I believe he's married. I think he mentioned that on his previous webcast. So am I, etc. Our spouses know, because this is, this honestly, there's also financial commitment involved as well. So spouses also need to be confident that, okay, are you ready to do this? And are you ready, willing to be 100% honest with your coach, in this case, Scott, and some of your bad habits, or when you do trip up along the way, not hide things, and even not just in the form of eating or exercising. Sometimes that's the least of it. Sometimes it's just habit wise or mindset or attitude wise. So I agree 100% with Byron.
I think one of the things to point out, the difference between how I coach is, I'm not a before and after transformation coach. I left that world ages ago. That's easy. That's the easy part. I'm a reflection back onto you, coach. So I'm going to reflect back onto a client or someone who's writing me the energy that they're showing, because a lot of the times they don't even know what that is. Oh, I'm just as committed and I'm not getting as many results. Well, maybe you're not just as committed, but that's a story you tell yourself. And you have to be willing to, accept that honest critique goes with trying to help someone along, because it's, it's the old saying, you're not trying to give someone a hand out, you're trying to give them a hand up. And, that requires that they're willing to make the climb as well. So without getting too esoteric about it, one of the things I did want to point out, and that everyone should be aware of, Byron's first refeed day is actually tomorrow. So it's been since January. He has not had a refeed, and JP, as the master of super comp, and I've tried to warn Byron, and I know Andy's tried to warn Byron, but that first one, and no matter what you tell someone, give them some sage advice from a first refeed, if you can remember that far back, buddy.
Yeah, I definitely remember, and I even remembered you telling me, Coach, easy, buddy, go easy, don't hurt yourself, literally, because you are, Byron, you're gonna want to eat everything in sight, especially going months on end. I think you started this back in January, if I heard or remember right.
Yeah.
And you're gonna want to eat anything that moves, almost practically. The problem is you really need to be careful, because that you're going to feel it within a couple of hours, or that night you're going to be woken up. You're going to have to run to the porcelain throne. And it makes sense, because so many months on end without having your body not having to break down certain types of foods and nutrients and things like that, and the enzymes and whatnot, it's going to be quite a shock. And the thing is that your enthusiasm is going to can get the better of you. There's a saying in Spanish, which basically translated to English is, don't eat with your eyes. And that's what you're gonna want to do. You're gonna eat with your eyes, but your stomach and digestive system may have something different to tell you.
Okay. Hablo en español. Say it.
Muy bien. Habla en español. Muy bien.
No. The actual saying.
Yeah. No comas con los ojos. Don't eat with your eyes. No coman con los ojos. Yeah.
That's a good one. I'll give you a couple of minor tips for the first couple times. And for anybody out there, because I told Byron, even after 20 years, we all have those times where we just tipped ourselves over, and food hangovers are exactly that. They're hangovers. But you might try some Imodiums throughout the day, because foods that your digestive system's not used to, Imodiums can help calm that. And you might want to, if you have a mattress that raises up and down, just don't sleep flat the first time. Sleep a little bit inclined, or even sitting up. And because if you lie down, the chances of reflux into your throat increases. And JP smiling away. Yeah. But these are things you're gonna only learn by doing. So even with all of us pointing at you like this, you're still going to overdo it. And
Well,
God bless you,
I was
have fun.
excited. Now I'm just a little scared. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Byron, when I was gonna have my first refeed, because I went 9 months straight with no refeed, and I couldn't go to sleep the night before. I mean, I was up at 3, 4 in the morning looking at the watch. Couldn't wait for me to get up in the morning.
I was
Now,
like that
see,
this morning already.
yeah, yeah, and you know what? So want to bring something up here. This is part of living in the world of food abundance, and actually anticipation and excitement about enjoying food is a good thing. Other people, I've had clients in the past. I'm about to come out with my food freedom course, and yes, food keeps them up at night too for the exact wrong, bad reasons, because they're afraid to eat. They got a family function the next day, or it's Thanksgiving or whatever, and they're going to break their diet, and they're paranoid and they're crying, and that's just no way to live. To have some excitement about enjoying the world of abundance we live in is a really, really good thing. Like, I even shake my head because I'm doing like the my next project is going to be 6-day vegan diet. And last week I posted on my Instagram picture of Manwich sloppy Joe sauce, which turns out, even though it's for meat, it has no animal ingredients in it. And there were some people who were just so far the other way on the vegan train. You can't eat that, and you shouldn't be telling people to eat that. And it was the same when I had the Lucky Charms, and Andy's got some reactions about his Oreos, and it's just like, calm the F down. Like, this is about,
Yeah.
this is a whole different, we can have that discussion, but when people start blocking into absolutes, they miss out on a lot of stuff. So
Hmm.
now, Byron, at the same time, and I'm going to get to comments because there's some great comments coming in. Oh, Moshe, no, I wasn't referring to you specifically, Moshe. I got many comments like yours that day. Just an FYI. But now, right when I first, I think as recently I posted a picture of you before we decided to get you on the show, Byron. It happened to be a long weekend, and you weren't on refeed yet, but you didn't stop you from living your life. You went on a camping trip with the family. Talk about that a little bit. What was that like diet wise?
Yeah, well, being in the Okanagan, we're hitting prime time camping season. We live in a beautiful area where lots of wilderness, lots of mountains, and I love being outdoors. So we get out camping, much as probably half of Kelowna gets out camping. So in that, though, of course, camping usually means a lot of snacking and eating and sitting around campfire, and really, there's not much to do out there other than just eat. You're eating lots. But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, I knew, I can't just indulge in what I wanted to, and I needed to stick with my diet plan, or diet strategy. So we did what we always did. We just prepared to eat what was on our diet strategy, and we prepared in advance. We put everything in our meals in Tupperware containers and put them in the cooler, and it actually made it simpler, actually, because it was like, here's the food, here's the frying pans, over the fire, over the stove, cook it up, eat, done. So it actually simplified packing a little bit and prepping for meal wise, and it let way less cooking actually out in the bush
Right.
than what you would think. And so it was just, and for me and my wife also, it was just a matter of, are we going to do this or aren't we going to do this? It was a no brainer. We're sticking to our diet strategy because we had a goal in mind and we wanted to keep with it. And it's not time. It wasn't time to indulge in anything. I knew that time was coming, and I didn't want to do anything to sabotage that or delay that in any way. So I made a choice to stick with what I was told to do, and it
Yeah.
was kind of in my mind. It was that simple.
Well, and what keeps popping into my head, I wish I could just keep bringing in the PDF again, and just the difference in how healthy you both look, like compared to your before, like just facial wise, right? If I could
Yeah,
just take
Oh
shots
yeah.
of faces, it would be, especially, I mean, JP, the ones you sent for just having fun and like living the cycle diet lifestyle, right? But I'll get to in a second, because I think it's important. One of the things recently, Byron, is you wrote me about your diet. Hey, I like black beans. Can I have black beans with, and I know that, I mean, no one else knows this, but yeah, we took out your animal protein at one meal, put in black beans, and I just know that if I say that and don't explain it, then all the hardcore fitness types who come from that world where it's all imprinted on them Well, what did that do to his macros? How did you adjust his macros? What about his fat went on? And we didn't do anything. I just said, okay, take out the chicken, put in this much black beans, boom, no difference, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. And it for me, it was just I was curious. I like black. I always did like black beans. So for me, it wasn't a vegan choice or anything like that. It was just a, hey, I want to try black beans instead of my chicken and tuna. And can I do that? And you're like, okay. So I'm like, perfect. How much do I put in there? So yeah, I just start with about a cup here and go from there. I'm like, all right. And that's what I
It's
did. And just that simple.
and of course that affects, that's going to be higher in carbohydrate, higher in fiber, lower in protein, blah blah blah. But you didn't come running up to me or send me an emergency email the next day. My abs are gone. I gained 5 pounds. This is the kind of self torment that goes through people's heads. We don't do macros. We don't do calories, and that's why you both have smiles on your face. And JP, how many years are you into this now? I keep thinking it's 3, but it's 4 now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about 4. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and in my case, it sounds like Byron is in full blown plant based, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No,
Um,
no.
but but in my case, where I did go actually several months ago, actually maybe about 2 months before Coach and Andy went public with that with themselves, them going whole food plant based. Um, I had also went whole food plant based. I consulted with Scott first, and no, same thing. It wasn't all of a sudden because I totally, completely dropped, literally from one week to the next, all animal, at least during diet strategy days, all animal, zero animal products. I don't look worse at all. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you can see my pictures. I don't look different. I haven't suffered in the gym. I've been at it probably 4 or 5 months, whole food plant based, if not a wee bit longer. Um, so no, all of these, from the hardcore mentality or the animal protein mentality or the amino acid, I mean, they're just so uneducated, and they're still living off of 30 years back worth of philosophy as far as health and nutrition goes. And not even so, because some of the stuff that we know now is from 20, 30 years ago, was just being ignored up until now.
Yeah, good
So
point.
I'm not surprised with Byron's um, lack of negative reaction to his own body by dropping some chicken.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, not to beat my own chest, but that's a reflection of coaching as well, right? I mean, he's not going to panic because he trusts that I said, yeah, go ahead, do it. Like, here's how to do it,
Yeah.
and then don't think about it, you know.
I To be honest, I didn't come. I asked because I was more just, I thought it'd go better with my meals. It wasn't a decision based on whether I want to transition into more plant based or anything like that. It was just I would like black beans instead of this. Is that doable? I wasn't even thinking macros or is this going to affect my protein. I didn't even go there until you guys actually just mentioned it. I didn't really think about it
Yeah,
in that way. I just
yeah.
thought, oh, I would like to do this with my coleslaw. It would taste better than the tuna,
And
and
you
it
know what?
did.
This is a really good point because you don't come from, and you haven't, like I said, you both have lives, you both have families, you both have jobs, you both, you're active in other things. A lot of the times the people that come from the fitness industry think they're informed when they're actually imprinted with false information. So what prevented you, Byron, from going to where most fitness people would go is you haven't been imprinted with it. So you didn't go
Mhm.
with, how does that affect my macros? How does that do, like my amino acid profile, blah, blah, blah. All these other people that come from that world would be tormenting themselves over something that requires no thought, no torment, no
Yeah.
overthinking of everything. I mean, it's
The,
unfortunate that on social media, the people who tend to talk the most are the least informed, because I've noticed now I'm getting some trolls on my YouTube channel and stuff, and all of us, our dicks are gonna fall off, and we're gonna die next week, and just like they're completely ill-informed, uninformed, make completely irrational, uneducated comments. But here's the thing, and I wrote this down for actually a post I was gonna do, but everyone, it's all so confusing, it's only confusing if you get the source of your information from social media. If you get the
mhm.
source of your information from research, it's actually quite clear. So the reason people keep thinking this is all rocket science and it's all confusing is because they keep going to social media sites for information. I get all the time, well, Scott, you said this, but I don't want to use these people's names because their tribe is way bigger than my tribe. But they'll be, I feel like sometimes this is like Game of Thrones. But they're like, well, he said the opposite, and he said this, and so I reply back and I said, and with his he said, did he offer any research that refutes what he's disagreeing with? Well, no. Well, then who cares? Like his opinion's supposed to matter because he's got a 20-inch arm and a following. Like if you're gonna like for instance, one of them even posted the symbol for forks over knives and then put the tape of propaganda through it, vegan propaganda. I'm like, since only in that world of social media can peer-reviewed research be called propaganda, like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even make rational sense. But again, as the saying goes, I'm going to have a whole webinar on this one. But as they say, belief is the death of reason. So that's good too. But I wanted to get that one out there. Now I want to get to some comments. Rick Romano's just saying, "Hey Byron, well done on your transformation. What are your diet meals like every day?" Common question. Do you also eat the same meals every day? And how long was it when you started having a cheat meal or cheat day? Well, obviously we covered that, Rick. He's having his first full day tomorrow. And again, that was based on biofeedback indicators that we were looking for. But go ahead, Byron, address that a little bit.
Uh, my meals are pretty straightforward. I still have meat, I still have fish and chicken and stuff like that. So, but it's the staple food groups, the and food that you would typically would want to have. Your potatoes, egg whites, your lean fish or lean meats, your vegetables, brown rice. Those kind of like my staples that I do, and most of my meals are the same. They stay the same. They stay consistent. For me, it's based on just simplicity. I can make them all at once, really easy. Because I'm, being at going to work every day, I just want to be able to put my meals in a container and get out the door and go. So to try to complicate it with a whole variety of different meals and switching it up, it's just, for me, it just was like, you know what, forget it. I'll just simplify it and change it up with smaller things like add salsa or add little condiments or spices that can change the flavor of it without really changing the bulk of the meal in itself.
That's
Um,
exactly right. Spices and condiments change everything without
yeah.
changing what is actually working. And what you're describing, and JP's nodding, is there's a psychological comment, psychological concept called decision fatigue. And
Yeah.
what that means is we are faced now in the world of abundance with so many decisions that we exhaust our supply of daily willpower shortly after we wake up. So the more decisions we have, the weaker we are to make them rationally. They did a study and they showed that, for instance, judges made poor legal decisions after lunch than before lunch because they were already tired of making so many decisions. And this speaks to the world of diet strategy and sustainability because people will always say, well, I don't want to live like eating the same thing all the time. Well, if you have a refeed day, that takes the edge off for one thing. And
Mhm.
the other thing is then don't say in the next breath that you also want the results that people who get these kind of results get, because you obviously don't. And decision fatigue ranks in there. Well, I every day I want to eat something different. Well, you can still do that. I mean, I have my dinners on Monday, Tuesday are the same. On Wednesday and Thursday, they're different. On Friday and Saturday, they're different. And then Sunday's the refeed. But JP, you want to take that
Yeah.
ball and roll with it a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Same as with Byron. I don't on my diet strategy days. I don't have the exact same food meal, foods meal after meal, day after day. It's more kind of under coach's guidance. I know what the principles are as to what type of foods and things like that, and the way I've simplified it, in which I'm not eating the exact same thing all the time. It's not always, well, I'm having half a cup of rice mixed with, half a cup of lentils, meal one. I don't do it that way. My way of simplifying it while still eating the proper whole food, plant based type of meals is I just know that I have 5 meals a day, every 3 to 4 hours. And in my case, I just always make sure that one of my meals is going to be a big salad, a massive salad. Um, I think Coach or someone just posted on
That was
on
me.
Instagram. Yeah, something about hopefully it'll scare somebody the size of my salad. Yeah, mine do. Mine's huge, and it'll always have like some type of lentils in it, whether it be beans or lentils or some type of legumes. Better, things like that. One of my meals is that. The other one will be like lentils or legumes with rice, um, et cetera, et cetera. Things like that. All fruits, things like that. Just in my case, it doesn't have to be the same type of lego. It could be a different type of bean, different type of fruits, different types of vegetables and greens and things like that. But it takes 99% of the thinking out of my day-to-day eating, and it's uber simple. I mean, there's zero thinking. The only thing I got to do is just to see how long I've got to cook it. The one thing I do have to pay attention to, though, is I have to make sure in regards to portion sizes in my case. Really, that's where the decision, in my case, where my decisions come down is not to what I'm eating. It's more portions, but not calorie count. More like when I ate this particular meal, how full was I? Am I full or do I just barely feel satisfied? How long did it take me to get hungry again for my next meal? That lets me gauge. Ooh, it took me a whole 3, 4 hours before I was ready for the next meal. Next time I have that type of meal, a combination, let me just pull it back a couple of bites less, or vice versa. I may have just ate a meal, and 5 minutes later, I felt like I ate air and water. Okay, well, now I know next time I need to maybe add a little bit more fruit or a little bit more beans.
And so what
Based
what
on body.
what is JP describing and all of that, folks, that I can't get people to understand? Biofeedback.
Mhm.
He's saying, what is my body telling me? He's not saying how many calories were this and how many grams were that, and maybe I should up this many calories. No, what was my body telling me? And like I told you, JP's become somewhat of a master at super comp. When I get his check-ins every week,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, right on. This is
I'm
now
just learning.
yeah, no, well, you're not even there yet. You haven't even
Yeah, no,
super.
I'm learning.
Yeah,
I've got a whole nother like JP talking about his how he approaches his diet days and diet strategies and stuff like that. And it's like, and I'm realizing like, man, I got to this point, but man, I got so much to learn and so much to adapt, and I'm going to be growing throughout the next year, 2 and 3, and just figuring out how my body is going to respond in different ways,
here's
and always being a student, right, of learning and getting back to getting familiar with how your body just is going to react in different situations.
there's some great comments coming in that I want to get to, and but one of the things I wanted to point out there is, again, the reason you're both on at the same time is the trajectory. So, Byron, you're looking at, like you just said, you're just still, you're wet behind the ears. JP's 4 years into it, as a committed student, not just a committed, I want to change my body. So what other people out there need to listen to in this is, again, here's where coaching comes in, because you see they have vastly different diets, and JP's at the level where he's experimenting without me. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm having I'm having the supersized salad, and I'm doing this, and this was my biofeedback, and Byron's like, holy crap, never thought of it. So it's that coaching line that I use in the Abel approach over and over again. The role of the coach is to go from being a guiding light to becoming a mirror. And that's why you see JP at one level and Byron at the other. And that's why they're on together to
Hey,
juxtapose the journey. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I wanted to add to that because I think it's important for any other client of yours or just anyone listening on this. Um, a key to long term health and wellness and fitness. I fully believe this is the more passionate you are about this as a learning process. Not, I know there are some individuals that they may not, and that's fine, they may not care about learning the ins and outs and the whys of eating and nutrition and training and things like that. They just want to be told strictly, what do I do, what don't I do, when do I do it, when don't I do it, and that's fine. How much do I measure, and that's fine. But long term wise, if man, if you're not passionate about it, I feel that you're going to one can be more susceptible to then falling off the bandwagon, so to say. But like I'm kind of hearing Byron. Byron is saying how he wants to grow in his learning and et cetera and things like that. Um, I think that's a crucial element to keeping in mind in as an individual, your own staying on track years later, not just all of a sudden, oh, I shedded all this fat or I put on a little bit of muscle, in the last 9 months. Whoopee, but okay, but 2 years down the line, are you still going to look, are you still going to be still okay? Are you still going to be
Mhm.
just as healthy as well?
And
Um,
those are great points, because what you're talking, I got a lot of people even in the last little while who have written me and said, they're former clients from 10, 15 years ago, and they're like, damn, I stopped following you and I fell into paleo and I fell into keto and now I got all this weight to lose, and why did I stop following you? And it's kind of what you're describing, because they never ever went beyond the, like you said, if passion, um let passion drive you, but let reason steer the wheel, is a good mantra to follow. But at the same time, if your ego is driving you and you think it's just about the weight loss, and then you lose the weight, and then you're like, and then what? You think like there's just this empty space, and then that's when you're tempted to gain it back. So
Mhm.
those are also good points. And Mike Veith is just saying, another client of mine who's had a massive weight loss, and we should all be applauding Mike as well over 100 pounds in his journey. He's just saying, great story, guys, great results. So that's yeah, I just wanted to point. I want to get Mike on the show too one of these days, because his story is monumentally important. And then Perry's just saying, hey Byron, take some pictures of the refeed day. No, I think that's a good idea. You really should. I think people will love that. So I got to do a shout out.
Right.
Speaking of that, a shout out to Andy. Andy is little Betty Crocker. He made me some vegan date squares yesterday, and when he handed them to me, I almost dropped them. They weigh about 95 pounds. But I'm going to do the Fred Flintstone on those. But yeah, definitely, Byron, take some pictures of what you decide to eat, size of your
Yeah,
meals.
will do.
People will like that. Andrea is just saying, another client of mine. Wow, Byron, congrats on such an amazing transformation. You rock, dude. I didn't know people even still talk like that. On a more serious note, Perry's just writing, like JP, there seems to be a spiritual element to being able to do what you guys have done. Yes. Well, I'll answer first. I would like to think there's a spiritual element to every single thing I do and every little breath I take, but that doesn't necessarily mean religious, but it does mean spiritual. I'd like to think I breathe spirituality into anything I do. It has a purpose, even if I'm sitting upstairs investing in rest time and recharging the batteries. But you guys want to take that one at a time? And Byron, you're a former preacher, and JP, I know you have that element in you as well. So go ahead, JP, you go first, and then we'll let Byron take that.
yeah, yeah, that's an awesome question. In a nutshell, because we can get real in depth with that. In a nutshell, I don't think it's a must to have a spiritual element in order to, for example, let's say someone, get in shape or get healthy. However, those that do have a spiritual element to it are going to be more. I'm going to have more success in getting healthy and in shape and things like that, and to sustain it. Because being part of a spiritual individual, you look way more beyond just, oh, I have to go work out 5 times this week, or oh, I better weigh out right my rice or whatever, and things like that. Things go, I mean, way beyond the physical in the sense of your habits, your attitude, your purpose, your why, just things like that. Your commitments. Earlier, Byron was talking about being vulnerable and being okay with that and things like that. Just being somebody that's going to stick to your word, not only to yourself but to others. So there's a lot of the person that does have a level of spirituality, whatever your particular personal philosophical beliefs are. But the spiritual element, if you have that, absolutely, no shadow of a doubt, will lead to success, because you can see beyond what you're looking at. In this case, we're talking about, again, just sets and reps and food. No, it goes way beyond that. Big time.
Or
Mhm.
it can. Unfortunately, it doesn't for a lot of people. I mean, I know people who've been in the industry as long as I have, and they're still about sets, reps, and grams, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
just kind of disappointing to see people living life like that's
right.
life inside the thin cage, is what I call it, and that's not freedom. But go ahead, Byron, you want to address that one?
I'll just simplify it. We we're a three-part being: body, soul, and spirit. And our spirit is our spirit, soul being our mind, will, and emotion, and our body. And I think, I know in the church and stuff, I mean, there's always a lot of emphasis on the spirit and the soul, and what we lack at times is the body aspect. I just believe that we need the combination of all three, healthy, strong, working together to be a truly a strong, healthy individual. And it's just, that's kind of my simple outlook at it all. So, we need to be strong in our body, we need to be strong in our spirit, we need to be strong in our soul, which is our mind, our will, and emotion, and how we obviously function on a day-to-day basis. If you can be strong in those three areas, you as an individual are going to be strong. If you're struggling in any one of those areas, there's going to be a weak point. And no
Here,
matter which way you look at it, if you could be strong spiritual, you could be strong in your soul and your mind, will, emotion. But if your body is lacking, it's going to affect you. And
Yeah.
vice versa. You have a strong body, you have a strong spirit. But if your mind, will, emotion are affected, your soul, that's going to affect you as an individual. So no matter how you slice the pie, we need a whole, every aspect in our being needs to be healthy in that area.
I refer to, you're not familiar with my earlier writings at all, Byron, but I wrote a little bit on life coaching as well, and self help stuff, and I call it what I call the triangle of awareness, which
Mm-hmm.
is mental fitness, emotional fitness, physical fitness, and together they make holistic fitness, or what we call spiritual fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they are meant to be an isosceles triangle, and
Exactly.
what that means is each side of the triangle touches each other side of the triangle and influences it. And if one of those gets out of balance, now it's obtuse or it's acute, which means there's some kind of issue there that represents non-balance. So something is weighing in too much, and we lose that a lot these days in the world of stimulus. And even Sherry. That just reminded me of Sherry's comment here. Shocking stats out there about decision fatigue. We grossly underestimate this. So if we're not taking care of our spiritual fitness, Yang is just saying she 100% agrees with you. We underestimate how important that is, and not without trying. I get upset pretty easy about such things, but we underestimate accolades and attaboys and stimulus and entertainment, and it's still all those things that Anthony Bourdain had, and he still took his own life. So,
Mm-hmm.
without none of those things are going to fill a hole in your heart. So, a lot of the times people come to me and I see right away, look, your weight loss, your physique transformation isn't going to fix what's hurting you right now. And they don't see that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is good stuff. We could
Yeah.
do
Oh.
a whole thing on. So, but Daniel's just
Coach.
saying balance is the key to
Yeah.
proper attitude. And the thing there, Daniel, is too many people write me and they talk about balance like it's a goal. If balance is a goal, that's automatically unbalanced. So balance is something you live. It's not a goal you shoot for, and not something you aim for. And not a lot of people can do it. And that's where the yeah buts start in. Yeah, but I got kids. Yeah, but I got a job. Yeah, but I got well, you gotta, there's a lot of people who manage to work their way around that. So Monica's just saying, great point, Byron. Strengthening our bodies, strengthening at the same time mental and spiritual fitness. Yeah. Rick Romano,
Coach.
let's just get, I want to get
Coach, if I
the,
may add.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just interesting because just earlier this morning I was having this conversation about Anthony Bourdain. I was a huge fan of his shows and everything, and that is definitely a topic for another day that we could really dig in deep into.
Yeah.
But there was something interesting related to how spirituality and health and fitness. It's interesting because it might have been Perry himself. I know he asked the question today. Might have been Perry himself who asked a similar question or a related question on a previous webinar about if spirituality helps in the health and fitness aspect. And I wanted to add to that here in the sense that it's actually reciprocal and it can help because actually taking care of one's body for the right reasons, not for vain motives or anything like that. Actually, it also it's a two-way street because I've noticed that even something as simple as sticking to a diet strategy, um, even if it's just for health and fitness purposes, actually can help in a spiritual sense a person, because it teaches you sometimes you have to say no to yourself. Sometimes there's reasons beyond not just always giving in to self gratification or instant gratification at that time. And in regards to food, that could be not having that piece of cake right then and there, or not having so much food like you would like to have, not giving into your own natural physical desires because sometimes that works against you. Well, that helps out in the spiritual aspect as well, in terms of 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 of, of holding off from giving in to certain desires. Sometimes the desires, some may be inappropriate desires, other times the desire is okay but not at that moment. Learning to hold off, things like that. So it is it's a symbiotic relationship between physical health and fitness, and just one as a person. The
Well,
Anthony Bourdain thing, man, I would love to get into that one day with you guys.
well, another time. It's a sad
Yeah,
when the sadness overcomes. I
yeah,
don't think I'd get through a conversation like that right now.
yeah.
But what you mentioned is what I said: the triangle of awareness. Each side of the triangle touches. And when I did my Empowered Woman's course, we talked about people committed to a diet. No, that's never going to work. You commit to yourself and the higher plane. And that's what people don't understand is how do you never cheat on your diet except for refeed days? Because I'm not the
Right,
kind of person that would cheat on my diet except
Yeah,
for the
right.
refeed days.
exactly.
It's not a
Yep,
diet I'm following. It's a reflection of my character.
yep.
So it's not there. Therefore, it is a no brainer. So
Yeah.
Andy and I have a seminar coming up all about cravings and this kind of stuff. And a lot of the times, the elimination of choice is a form of empowerment, and people don't realize that. So I talked about in that lecture too how my ex-wife Annie, when she made the choice on the spot to going vegetarian and vegan, it was a moral choice. Not mine was based on reason and health and studies. Hers was witnessing an animal being slaughtered. So when she made that moral choice and she vaulted her commitment to the level of morality, she was never tempted again by going out for dinner with her friends or being around this or being around that. It wasn't like, oh, why did I make that commitment? When you vault it to the level of morality, which is a reflection of your character, then that you've got a much deeper foundation. I didn't expect this to go this direction, but let me get back
It's awesome though. It's
into this
awesome.
stuff. Rick's saying people fail to understand plateaus and realize weight loss doesn't just stall; it actually moves, but so slow that you don't see it until you patient enough till it resurfaces. Biofeedback will tell you all you need to know, like the guys of the 70s. Yeah, I've said a lot, Rick, to a lot of people lately who say I'm not making any progress, and I'll say that depends how you define progress. If you're not gaining weight and gaining it back, that's a form of progress. And the body is never linear, so the body never responds in linear ways. So that's really really important as well. So um, really really important stuff. So uh, that's our hour, guys. Believe it or not.
Holy,
So
is
Byron,
it?
any
I
I
got
know
another couple hours. I mean, come on. No.
we'll
I'm
have you
kidding.
both back, and maybe we can tackle the deeper elements. But I mean, again, the reason you're both on is because you're a reflection of each other. I'm kind of see JP as sort of the graduate version of where you're at, Byron, and it's good to
Hmm.
have him like here, like because your transformation is going to be permanent. JP's is like 4 years in the making, and he's sort of like now making decisions, and just the coaching is in a different realm than it is with you, and but you're both of the same mind. That's why you're on. I have other
Hmm.
transformation people who maybe I don't trust their transformation as much. So, that's why you're on here, and I knew you'd have the perspective. But before we all just wish you a happy refeed day, and definitely take pictures. That's a fantastic idea from Terry.
I'll take some pictures for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you have any parting words from people? Because I told you earlier, Byron, and this is human nature, folks. There's nothing wrong with this, and JP the same. So when I posted Byron's picture of 70, almost 75 pounds now weight loss, and we only know that for this, but for this webinar, because my clients don't weigh in, I don't like that. Well, that's another topic, but um, as many people who were motivated and inspired, and thanks for posting that, Scott, and how do I get on board and blah blah blah, were just as many writing saying, I'm so happy for Byron, I'm happy for JP, but I'm also frustrated. Why them, not me? What am I doing wrong? What, this and that. And just some parting words of support or motivation, Byron. I mean, you don't consider yourself a hero or anything, so leave somebody with something to think about.
You know what? I made it simple. I mean, you made it obviously you made it simple, really. And I just in my mind I said I'm going to keep it simple and follow the plan and just make it work, in the sense of just following it. I didn't complicate it any more than that. You made a plan, here it is, do what's there and just put in the work. And that's what I did. That's all I've done. So I know there's and I've
That's fantastic advice. I mean,
yeah.
I have another client named Ollie, also real weight loss and like traumatic weight loss. And whenever he checks in every week, he's a bit of a character, a bit of a comedian. But he always is when it comes to the biofeedback part, he's always like, the plan is the plan is the plan. That's what he just keeps writing that, right? Like the plan is the plan is the plan. Boom, right? Like he doesn't overthink it. So that's great advice. Like keep it
Yeah, and
simple,
I think that's key. I
right?
mean, just keep going. If you're on a plan, if you want to join, just go with it. But just
Yeah,
dive in, be vulnerable to the plan because the plan does work and trust in
yeah,
it, trust in your coach and go for it. And don't look back. Just go for it. You're going to have trials and tribulations during it, but you have to be bigger than that piece of pizza. You got to be bigger than that temptation. You got to be bigger than that event that you are so looking forward to. At times we got to sacrifice things. I sacrifice, trust me, some barbecues, some good looking food so that I can stay on my diet strategy and just keep it simple, stay this course. Because I knew that day was going to be coming and it's here.
yeah. And
So
we're all excited for you.
yeah, so
Rick is just writing, what foods have you got in mind for your cheat day? What pops into your head as like okay, I'm having that for sure.
well, pizza for sure. I'm doing pizza, no doubt. That was the one that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do pizza.
So
And
a grease wheel for you. Okay.
oh yeah, grease wheel for sure. And sweets. I've such a sweet tooth. I love my sweets, so I got some, something sugary, something sweet, and
Well,
I'm gonna
you got to tell people what they are.
Oh,
People are
Costco has a
eavesdropping.
big old like container like bars that are like macaroon,
Yeah, I've
chocolate
had those.
filled pecan bars. It's a whole packet of it. It's like
Yeah,
it's probably well a lot more than I should be eating, and I probably won't eat them all, but I'm gonna have fun trying at least.
that's
And
it.
yeah, and it's I've got a cheesecake, a massive. I got a Costco cheesecake. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, that's even big for me, but I'm gonna tackle what
Get
I can and
get a
have some
picture.
fun with it. Yeah.
Get a picture.
So
People would say to me sometime, "Oh, what are you having tomorrow?" I said, I'm gonna climb into a drum of ice cream and eat my way out."
I got my ice cream too. There's another thing. I just picked up some ice cream. I got some candy. I got all types of goods. So
And
poutine. There you go for
Jay,
all of us.
oh,
Classic
poutine. Wow.
Canadian
Yeah,
poutine.
you're
I'm
gonna
making poutine.
now. As much as
So
we've warned you about take it slow and all that, one of the positives we will say is your next few workouts, the days after, you're gonna feel like you've eaten thunder. You're gonna crap lightning. You're just
right
gonna
on.
feel like, yeah, it's just you're gonna have veins popping, and you're being so that's a benefit. JP, parting
That'd be
words.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm Byron. I'm gonna have a 10-pound bag of M&Ms tomorrow in your name in celebration of you.
Yes.
Well, we want a picture of that too, then, JP.
no, no problem. All I wanted to say for 30 seconds was about the parting words of about some individuals being a little bit discouraged because they may see someone like Byron or someone else, and they compare. First, be real careful with comparing because Byron or myself may not have the day-to-day responsibilities or stresses in life or medical situation, medical, internal um, environment that the person may have. But two, just don't focus on the actual how you're looking and this and that. Just focus on just the very practical, literally as simple as this sounds, just the practical day-to-day things that you have to do to get yourself to eventually where you want to get to. So just worry
Hmm.
about making sure that you eat and eat what you're supposed to eat and the amounts you're supposed to eat, that you get your workouts in, Give it everything you got. Don't overstress things. Don't get depressed. And honestly, things will actually fall into place. All of a sudden, it may not be 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the line, like in Byron's case. It may be a year. It may be 2 years down the line, but that's cool. That's fine. 2 years down the line is still better than never.
Look, and
Just worry
remember,
on the day to day.
if we factor in how many other things both of you guys have tried before and not and ended up, rebounding from, or it not working or not panning out, then that factors in too, right? So, but I think, it's a good spot to end on, because we could start a whole new conversation. Rick is just saying he looks forward to Coach's show just as much as he does his cheat days. Well, that might be overstating it a bit.
Yeah.
And,
Come on now.
and
Let's be real.
I'm just, as the sort of senior old fart in the room, I'm looking at our, and again, like I say, I see the pictures of young, healthy individuals. I'm looking over here. You guys can't see it because it's not posted in the screen, but I'm looking at your before pictures and stuff, and it just, it's one thing to have the 6-pack rocking all the time, and that great picture you have, JP, that you posted in with the pipes there and the Pirates hat and stuff, and that it's always there. But at the same time, you both just look so friggin' healthy, and I'm just glad to be part of that. So,
Yeah.
On that note, thanks for sharing your weekend, guys. And Byron said to me weeks ago, guys, he could only do weekends because he works full time. He's got kids, and we scheduled this a few weeks in advance. So thanks, Byron. Appreciate you setting aside the time. And
hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
I think I hear her giggling in the background every so often. So,
your
wife, I think she's giggling in there in the background.
Oh, maybe it was one of my kids or something.
Oh, okay.
Who knows?
JP, same. So look to have you both on again another time. And thanks, guys. And hopefully you all enjoyed this, and you'll hit your share button and you hit your emoticons, and you'll spread the word, because, again, real people, real lives, unreal transformations, and this could be you if you make the commitment and just make a decision. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.